If friends in Congress pretty nervous, they're up to 7,000 votes to
large numbers, and they will be larger numbers as the time goes on, and we've had thousands of people come by the post office in support of our efforts to keep it open. So we do have people power, we have legislative and litigation. So those three prongs are our success recipe. Now people, and music. Oh, there's our fourth. All right, there you go. So you probably are aware of some of the activities that have gone over the year. We're going to have a number of speakers, and so we've got Norman Solomon is present, is our first speaker. We have, pardon? Can you hear me better here? All right, I'll turn off this mic. Thank you, sound check person.
Also be aware that from time to time the broadcast might drop, so be aware that I will not leave without signing off.
I'm going to turn up the volume on this, and hopefully everybody can hear. Better?
You have
Thank you.
I'm here for the next few hours.
Our first speaker is Norman Solomon. The title of his speech, we're going to be hearing about privatizing our future, what's at stake and how to stop it. Mr. Solomon is the author of a dozen books, including War Made Easy, How Presidents and Pundits Keep Spinning Us to Death. He's also the founding director of the Institute for Public Accuracy. He's also the co-chair of the Coalition for Grassroots Progress. Please welcome to the mic, Norman Solomon.
We're here today confronting government policy that is an inversion of policy that would serve the public.
Yes.
We now face, embodied and symbolized by Senator Dianne Feinstein, a total turning upside down of what we deserve and what we demand in a democracy.
Absolutely.
We now live in a country where, according to federal government policy, private citizen is an oxymoron. That is not acceptable. We need to, and we will, continue to fight for public space and the legacy of the New Deal, just as we fight for the Fourth Amendment. And I'd like to ask you to just mull over with me for a moment here this inversion of policy that is symbolized by Senator Feinstein. To Senator Feinstein, to most of the members of Congress in terms of their action and inaction, the President of the United States, to them, public space is wasted space. To them, this post office is wasted space until it is privatized. That is wrong. The belief that somehow the New Deal and the legacy of generations who have fought for public government, the idea that the legacy of the New Deal should be destroyed is absolutely unacceptable, and we will not stand for it. Now, the reality is that members of the House and Senate of the U.S. Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, all too often have been part of the execution of the public space and our heritage from past generations. The fact is that this assault on the post office has been bipartisan. That is the reality. The fact is that when the Democratic Party for 2 years, in 2009 and 2010, controlled both houses of Congress and the White House, they did nothing to save the USPS, and that is shameful, and we will not forget it.
Yes. We will not forget.
The reality is that if you hear, as I have, and as many of you here have heard presentations from the management of the U.S. Postal Service, we may as well have been hearing a presentation from the management of Walmart. A privatizing mentality that has grabbed control of the Postal Service, and we do not accept that. So how do we go forward? We go forward the way people for generations have gone forward, the way people who established the New Deal, Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, we went forward then and we're going to go forward now by organizing. We're going forward by stating and acting with the clarity that leadership is not going to come from the White House or the Congress until and unless it comes from the grassroots. It is true, when we lead, only then will the leaders follow and provide real leadership. The profiteering, the attitude that public space must be harvested for the profits of people like Richard Blum, the husband of Senator Feinstein. The idea that it's acceptable to plunder our public space for private millionaires and billionaires, that is unacceptable. We will not accept it. Thank you very much for being here.
That was Freeman Sullivan, state representative here, speaking.
Our next speaker, we have coming to the mic, Hannah Appel. She's going to speak about this. You are not a loan, L-O-A-N, debt resistance and the post office. Hannah is an assistant professor of anthropology at UCLA. She writes about the daily life of capitalism and the economic imagination from U.S. oil firms in Central Africa to Occupy Wall Street. She continues to work with the banking group of Occupy Wall Street and is an active member of Strike Debt here in the Bay Area. Welcome to the mic, Hannah Appel, Professor Appel. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. I'm going to see if I can put this here and you can all still hear me. Do people feel like they hear me? No, on your nose. Okay, but obviously you heard me if you said that, but that's no problem. So I'm going to give a complimentary analysis to what we just heard, which was spectacular. And I'm actually going to talk a little bit about debt. You may be wondering, what on earth does debt have to do with the post office?
Everything!
All right, so some people know already. I'm going to try to spin you a story about that, and I'm going to relate it to individual debt, etc. So bear with me as I wax professorial for just a minute. So medical debt, people unable to pay their medical bills, is the #1 cause of bankruptcy in the United States. Today, student debt is over $1 trillion US. This is greater than aggregate credit card debt, and it's exceeded only by one category of debt. Which category is that? Close. Housing debt. So now I'm talking about individual debt right now. So housing debt. Across the country, people continue to lose their homes in predatory lending and foreclosure schemes that disproportionately affect low-income and black and brown communities. In other words, as individuals, as families, as communities, many of us are drowning in debt for the basic things we need to live: housing, education, healthcare. And at the same time, each of these forms of debt, medical debt, student debt, housing debt, credit card debt, not to mention payday lending, each of these is a tremendous source of profit for the financial industry. And those of us least able to pay, those of us who miss monthly payments or accrue late fees or penalties, these are the most profitable debtors, the financial industry's best customers. So finance, I want us to remember for just a minute, does not make value out of nothing, as some people have said. Rather, the financial industry, Wall Street, makes value out of the income and debt streams of working class people and middle class people. Mortgage-backed securities, student loan, asset-backed securities, everything from your car loan to those of us privileged enough to have a pension, becomes a manipulable source of value for Wall Street. So remember too, as the financial sector is profiting from our debt, we are actually not the only ones in debt. In the wake of the financial crisis, big banks were trillions of dollars in debt in the wake of their risky bets gone wrong. But did they have to pay their debts?
No!
Were they told that contracts are sacred? You can't break a contract.
No!
Right. We are told that we have to pay our debts. And so people lose their homes while trying to pay for cancer treatment. Meanwhile, too big to fail financial institutions enjoy government bailouts that subsidize their risky behavior. We are forced to pay our debts while banks are let off the hook. We are told that contracts are sacred while banks break them and renegotiate them left and right. So strike debt, and there are many strike debtors here today, strike debt is building a resistance movement to say no more. We are working to build popular resistance to all forms of unjust debt because we want to move debt from an issue of individual shame to a platform for collective action. Debt, as the banks know too well, is political. Right, so that's where we're getting. I'm coming to the post office. Trust me here, trust me. So whether or not an individual has any debt, we are all debtors. So what do I mean by that? The city of Oakland pays nearly 20% of its annual budget in debt servicing, while schools close and public services dry up. The U.S. Postal Service is forced to borrow money because of an unprecedented congressional mandate to fund retiree benefits 75 years into the future. Woo! Crazy, crazy, unprecedented. And you were wondering when I get to the post office, right? So here I go. It was only after something called the 2006 Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act that the Postal Service started hemorrhaging money. At that point, the Postal Service was self-sustaining and was not in any debt. Debt, in other words, is a tool through which the commons, this beautiful post office, can be privatized. Debt can be stolen, can be privatized. Debt is a means of control. Debt is a transfer of wealth from the bottom to the top. How? What do I mean by that? Once the U.S. Postal Service went into debt, their management, quote, sees no choice but to sell valuable assets, like this historic post office in back of me, and valuable real estate around the country as our comrades in the Bronx and Portland are also protesting. So with debt as the mechanism, public property, accessible to all, serving all, transfers into the hands of private individuals and corporations, real estate speculators, private equity firms like Bloom Capital, serving now to generate private profit rather than serve public good. And it's the same thing for students, right? Once a student goes into debt, her choices are constrained. Maybe after college, she wanted to work as a community organizer. Maybe after medical school, he wanted to open a free clinic. But debt constrains their choices. If they are responsible, they have to make money. In fact, they have to make enough money to pay off their loans and avoid the 6+% compounding interest. So these are a few examples of how debt serves to privatize the commons, which is what we're seeing going on with the Berkeley Post Office. How debt serves to constrain people's choices and to transfer capital, to transfer assets from the bottom to the top. Remember that underwater homeowners too could have been bailed out. In fact, there were a handful of powerful people advocating for this, but partially because homeowners were considered individual debtors. Without the political power of big banks, homeowners received nothing but foreclosure notices and bogus settlements. But together, acting collectively, as we're doing today on behalf of the post office, we debtors are too big to fail. And that's what strike debt is working toward, and I think save the Berkeley Post Office too, if you believe my analysis about debt here. Yay, I'm so glad to hear it. Right, Detroit, somebody's shouting out. Another perfect example of how we are collectively debtors. So we're working to build the collective power of debtors at all levels, from individual debt to municipal debt to sovereign debt. We hold that we owe financial institutions nothing. Nothing. Whereas to our friends, to our families, and to our communities, we owe everything. And that's, of course, why many of us are here today. Because the Berkeley Post Office is part of our community, accessible to all, serving all,
Loved by all.
loved by all. And we know intuitively that there must be some kind of alternative to selling it to Richard Blum or profit-hungry real estate investors. We know intuitively that not every entity has to generate profit. And, dare I say it, we know intuitively that not all debts have to be paid. This is a debt that the post office incurred from the 2006 that does not have to be paid. The banks know it. It's about time that we knew it and stopped paying unjust debt. So, Strike Debt Bay Area is really happy to have joined Save the Berkeley Post Office Coalition in fighting for this Berkeley Post Office and fighting for our commons more generally. There's more information about Strike Debt over at the table where Margaret is, who's waving her hand, and where my little 2-month-old baby is. He's not waving his hand, but you can all say hi to him. And that's it. Thanks so much for coming, and thanks to the organizers.
People that are in the street, it's good to be in the street. We're all going to be in the streets, but just make sure we don't get hit by the cars back there.
Get the cars out of the street.
Okay. Our next speaker is my councilman, my council member. I am in his district, which is in this area that we stand. We have Jesse Aragon to thank for passing and proposing. He's here actually, yes. He's going to speak next, but he actually brought before the City Council a special ordinance to create a historic zoning district that would protect this building to ensure that it remains a historic use for cultural services, a community service, a building that's for the people, not for private profit. This is our public space and has been for 100 years. Next year is his 100-year birthday. I bring you the mic today. Jesse Aragon, please thank Councilman Aragon for his work on this project.
Thank you. We're here today to not only celebrate the birthday of our Postal Service, but to speak out against its destruction and to save our historic Downtown Berkeley Post Office and post offices throughout the country. Since its founding in July of 1775, the Postal Service has ensured that everyone, regardless of who you are or where you live, have access to information and communication. And for centuries, our Postal Service has strengthened the bonds of family and community, promoted civil discourse, and supported our national economy, fostering trade and business. And even in the age of electronic communication, because there have been many comments that have been made that due to email that there's been this huge drop-off in terms of the use of the Postal Service, the Postal Service is still such an integral part of the lives of everyone in our society. All one needs to do is to come to this Downtown Berkeley Post Office on a weekday and see lines of people to drop off and pick up packages and mail. The Postal Service is really a lifeline in our society, and that is why it's so important that we fight to protect it.
We're here.
And unfortunately, there are efforts underway that seek to destroy our public postal system. The right wing is pushing to cut service, raise postal rates, fire workers, and even privatize service.
And break the union.
And break the union.
Thank you.
They have hoisted an artificial crisis on the postal system, pay pension obligations years into the future, and as a result, cripple the Postal Service. And as a result, our Postal Service has decided to sell historic post offices throughout the country as a way to meet this absurd mandate. We cannot let the right wing privatize our Postal Service. And we cannot let them privatize essential public services, whether they may be our Postal Service or Social Security. These attacks on working people and public services have to stop. We are here to take a stand and say, enough is enough. At the same time, we cannot let our Postal Service make misguided decisions to sell off our public commons. We need to stop this heist of our post offices and push legislation that will reform the Postal Service, not cut it further and further. At the same time, we need to tell USPS to take a step back and not sell our beloved Downtown Berkeley Post Office. I and many other members of the City Council are deeply disappointed that the Postal Service has decided to sell this beloved post office. Their decision ignores the will of our community to find a sensible solution and opts for the easy way out by auctioning off our culture and heritage to the highest bidder. We cannot let this happen. Throughout the process, they have never seriously considered community comments and arguably deprived the public of the opportunity for additional comment and review by classifying this as a relocation and not a closure, which is what it really is. And despite statements that USPS needs to sell the building to address its financial challenges, the Postal Service did not adequately consider alternatives to the sale. And ultimately, selling a building that the USPS already owns in exchange for renting high-value commercial space in the downtown is like selling your car to pay for gas. It's like selling your house to pay off your mortgage. It just does not add up. More just short-sighted. It's not often that the Berkeley City Council, the left and the middle, is united on anything, but we are united in our opposition to the sale of our beloved downtown post office. And despite this setback, the fight isn't over. We will be pursuing litigation with other parties since the USPS did an end run around certain legal requirements. We will continue working with you to fight to save this post office.
And all the other post offices.
And other post offices throughout the country. And additionally, as was mentioned, we are moving ahead and looking at putting restrictions on what can be done with this building, so it remains for public use, or it remains part of our public commons. If USPS is looking to make quick cash in the short run, they're going to have a hard time under the proposed zoning overlay that we're considering. USPS must respect the wishes of our community and find a buyer that would be willing to keep the main post office within our public commons. That's only if they decide to proceed with selling this building. We will not let them proceed with selling this building. I am proud of the fight that we have mounted as a community, everyone, and which we started last year. And I'm here to say the fight continues. Si se puede.
Thank you, Councilmember Arreguín, for all of your hard work. We are going to succeed together. Our two sign holders will be back, but I want to give a special shout out to our kids that were holding signs up here. They'll be back. Leela is 6 years old and her brother Luis is 10. And they are young activists.
Heads up for the crowd here, folks.
Next up we have acapella, and they are going to give us some rousing song inspiration and motivation to get this job done. We have Hallie leading and her group are coming forward. Betsy, Nancy, Bonnie.
Hallie, do you want more voices? I've got to switch these mics. Do you want more voices?
Going on around here, folks. We got a nice crowd. It's about 100 folks here. See how many people are here that are supporting our cause. Down here at the USPS, here in the main post office in downtown Berkeley. Join us here, and we plan on occupying this space for quite a while. So come down and support us. And support the remains that the U.S. Post Office remains in the Commons. Okay, mics aren't working. Anyway, thank you for watching. Log on to the social stream to let me know how AV is going out. I really appreciate that. Please retweet this out to all of your friends and followers on social networks to let them know about this event and to let them know that people are supporting not selling off the different post offices, which are happening not only here in Berkeley but also in New York, Los Angeles, and in most major cities around the United States, where they're trying to sell these historic post office buildings, and basically to the highest bidder. And this is something that this is our public building. It's another time to get ready to come out.
No, this is the other floor. That's the other floor. No, that's not. That's the.
Thank you. I'll be in D.C. on the 5th of November, brother.
Oh, cool.
Much love.
Cool.
1, 2, there we go. Okay, so there's a chorus. This is To My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. And the chorus goes, stand up, save the post office today, today. Stand up, save the post office today. The post post office right here in Berkeley was built back in 1913, and now they say it's on the market. They want you to think it's routine. Everybody, stand up, stand up. Save the post office today, today. Stand up, stand up. Save the post office today. I went to the post office Tuesday to mail me a letter or two. The building was closed up and boarded, and now I don't know what to do. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Save the post office today, today. Stand up, stand up. Save the post office today. They want to stop 6-day delivery, degrade service standards and more. They tell me we just can't afford it, but I think I've heard that before. Stand up, stand up. Save the post office today, today. Stand up, stand up. Save the post office today. One more time. Stand up, stand up. Save the post office today, today. Stand up, stand up. Save the post office today. There were some of these sheets passed out. We're going to sing to the tune of Down in the Valley.
Also a D.
Down in the valley, valley so low. Tell our post office. Tell our post office. Just tell them no. Just tell them no. Just tell them no, dear. Just tell them no. Tell our post office. Just tell them no. Knows it's the sunshine. Violence love to save our post office and save Union. Save our post office. Save unions too. Save unions too, dear. Save unions too. Save our post office and save unions too. Write me a letter, send it by mail. Write me a letter, send it by mail. Tell them our post office is not for sale. Tell them our post office is not for sale. It's not for sale, dear. It's not for sale. Tell them our post office is not So we're going to do what we call a zipper song now, where you zip in words that have to do with what we're... Where's Moni? How much time do we have?
You are at 1:46 now.
Okay, we'll just do a short one.
You got 5 more minutes.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Gonna build a better world. Privatization ain't gonna let privatization turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let privatization turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Gonna build a better world. Chicken die! Ain't gonna let chicken die. Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let chicken die. Turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Gonna build a better world. Gonna let us live. Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let us live. Turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Gonna build a better world. Ain't gonna let no Donahoe. Ain't gonna let no Donahoe. Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no Donahoe. Turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Gonna build a better world. Austerity. Ain't gonna let austerity turn me around. Turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let austerity turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Gonna build a better world. Ain't gonna let human busting turn me around. Turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let human busting turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Gonna build a better world. Ain't gonna let lies and greed turn me around. Turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let lies and greed turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Gonna build a better world. Corporations ain't gonna let corporations turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let corporations turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Gonna build a better world. Ain't gonna let crooked politicians turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let crooked politicians turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Gonna build a better world. Ain't gonna let big banks turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let the big banks turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Gonna build a better world. Ain't gonna let nobody, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, resources. Don't forget August 3rd in Richmond, big demonstration against the Keystone Pipeline. And a great concert at the end of August.